Hey everybody, it's Jordan. Sorry for the super long time between updates. We're just super busy here trying to get everything together. But today there's an update, and it's to show you the version 1.0 of our editor. For this video, I'm going to be capturing the Ming Micro video output through this little USB capture interface I have, and this little driver package called Video Glide, which works pretty well. So there we've got our Ming Micro video. Well, that's funny. We just got a Kickstarter comment through. Yeah, end of August. Yeah, we thought that we were going to be the exception, and run a Kickstarter that hit every single milestone just exactly right on schedule, and et cetera, et cetera. And of course, we weren't the exception. There have been various delays, mainly to do with the additional physical rewards. The 3D printed case and the SD cards are still just a little bit up in the air. But hopefully there's going to be a real update about that stuff very soon. In the meantime, though, I've been plugging away at the editor, which I'm going to show you now. So let's launch MicroEdit 1.0. Here it is. Incidentally, this is a really nice way to work, to just sort of loop Ming Micro's video and audio right back into your desktop like this. The solution I'm using is called it's like vid2 USB by StarTech or something like that. I'll put a link in the video description and in the Kickstarter update. But so here's the editor. It's basically split into 4 windows: graphics, sound, the modulation matrix, where you can assign modulators to graphics and sound parameters, and the modulators themselves, which are what get assigned in the modulation matrix. There are 16 modulators. Each page looks exactly the same, and each modulator can have one of 5 wave shapes: a saw wave, a triangle wave, a sine wave, a smooth random wave, and a stepped random wave. They have a rate, a min, and a max value, and they also have a thin setting, which can be used to strip out MIDI messages. So if you're sending a ton of MIDI to Ming Micro and it's starting to behave a little bit goofily because you're overloading the MIDI bus, you can use this here to thin stuff out. Up here you have the main graphics parameters. So you have sprite, sprite XY, map, tile, palette, pixel, and glitch. So if we go into the sprite XY, for instance, and grab one of these nodes, you'll see here that we have XY control over all 3 sprites. This was sort of a simple thing that I was pretty excited to get working, because now we have just direct mouse control over these various Ming Micro parameters. We've got XY pads on a couple of these, actually. If we go into map and turn on the tile cursor, you can see that we can move that around with XY. And also, if we go into pixel, I'm going to clear out the background really quick, turn on the cursor, and give it a white color. You see here I can move the pixel drawing stuff around with an XY as well, which is super useful. So you can just sort of draw, little squiggles or whatever, and create your backgrounds that way. Obviously, you've got control over the object and orient banks here on the first page. This is how you tell the sprites what they're going to look like. We have a similar thing for tiles. You can get up some different tile sets here. Let's do that water one, and let's put in some grass with a different palette, and under that, good old brick texture. Well, actually, I'll show you the tile drawing here a little bit. So if we go tile select, and let's put down some more of these bricks up here. Something like that, I don't know. Well, I'll just show you really quick. We have this sort of the glitch tile scroll stuff going on up here. Again, you can just grab this with the mouse and start scrolling through stuff, or you can type in something like, let's type in something really high, like 16,000. So now we're pretty deep into the glitch stuff here. If we set the tile region a little higher, we can actually reach into these weird RAM locations that are a little bit animated in different strange ways. So if we want to get one of these things moving automatically, we'd use the modulation matrix. There are 4 pages to this, and the pages are basically just clocking in more and more parameters that can be controlled. You'll notice that the modulator assignments 1 through 16 don't change for these pages. That's because we only have 16 modulators. So on modulation page 1, the very first couple things are sprite 1x and sprite 1y. So if we assign a modulator to sprite 1x, you'll see that we get it moving right over there. So over here in the panel for modulator 1, we can do a couple things. One thing is we can increase the range here. So let's set the max at 80 something to get it going all the way across the screen. And we don't want it to go all the way behind the border there each time, so we're going to turn the minimum up a little bit too. Turn the max down a little bit. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Here's the rate, of course. We can have it going sort of slow or really fast. Now for sprite 1y, we could use the same modulator. That will get us a diagonal. But the real fun starts when we use another modulator instead. So now we'd go to modulator page 2. Again, let's increase the maximum so we get it moving up across the screen. And let's increase the rate on that one to be a little bit faster. And now instead of having triangle waves, let's use sine waves, because those just look a little more fluid. I just like sine waves, okay? Now there's a ton of parameters, obviously, that you can modulate, but I actually want to go over here to sound really quick and show you how this stuff works. So you have 3 channels. That's square wave, and a noise wave. The noise wave has this extra little mode bit that you can set. But for now, let's just use the first square wave channel. And if we turn up the amplitude here, we should start hearing a very deep tone. We can adjust the pitch. Oh, that is a little bug. That pitch should adjust right away, but I had to... That's just a program initialization thing. To make a note to sort that out. But so here we have the pitch control, and we can sweep through pitch directly. We can also assign pitch to a modulator, but Ming Micro actually has a nice little built-in feature called sprite lock, where we can internally tell Ming Micro to just basically slave this square wave to the position of one of the sprites. So let's do that, and let's say that this is the pitch sprite lock here. So let's have the pitch be modulated by the Y position. So that'll set up a little one-to-one modulation really quick. One of the advantages of doing it this way is you don't have to then go around and configure multiple modulators to keep everything in sync. You can just find the page that's controlling the sprite 1 Y position and just change the rate of that, and the sound will immediately Mickey Mouse to it. So now let's get really fancy, and let's modulate the amplitude relative to the X position. So now it gets louder as it moves from left to right. Now again, that will be automatically modulated as we change the rate at which that sprite is moving. Now let's fade in a little bit of Ming Micro's built-in LFO. Hear that just to get a little more richness in the sound. I feel like I'm making a Bob Ross episode here or something. And maybe a nice little low-frequency oscillator lives right in there, just to give it a little bit of squiggle. Just a happy little squiggle. So over here in the corner, we've got 2 different system panels, Ming Micro System and Micro Edit System. The Ming Micro stuff obviously applies to the hardware. So this is saving a world pack to the hardware, resetting the hardware, or refreshing the hardware, which I'll answer in a second. And Micro Edit pertains more to the editor, so this stuff here has to do with presets. And actually, I'm going to talk about the presets first. So you see you've got 2 buttons here, Save to HDD and Load from HDD. That's how you get your preset files loaded into the editor. So I've got a simple little collection of 4 presets I made here. They're just stored as JSON files. So that's been opened, and you can see now I've got 4 black squares here. Each one of those represents a preset. And to select one, I just click on it. So this is a preset that is stored on your computer and is loaded into the editor. Then the editor sends out all the parameters via MIDI to Ming Micro. This is not to be confused with the actual palette and graphics data, which is loaded via SD card onto the hardware. That's what this save button here under the Ming Micro system has to do with. But in any case, I've got 4 presets here. That's the first one, second one, third one. I like this one, it's very orbital. And then finally you've got the 4th one where I just went nuts. Just a bunch of crazy modulation. But let's go back to this simple one to talk about. So there are 4 controls here in Ming Microsystem. I actually want to start from the bottom and work upwards. So modulation active will pause the entire modulation system of MicroEdit. So if I click this, you see it sprite stops moving. Press it again, it starts. Something like that. We've also got under the system menu up here hotkeys for this stuff. So modulation active is Command A. So you can just sort of step through it. Now reset will actually do a physical reset on Ming Micro. So if I press that there, you see that we'll get Video Glide loses the sync a little bit here. That's what that green pane is about. Okay, Ming Micro is now rebooted. You'll see that once it's rebooted, though, we don't instantly get back to where we were at in our preset. That's because the hardware is sort of initialized now, and so we've got to resend all of these different parameters that are stored in the editor back out to the hardware to get back to where we were. So that's what the refresh button does. Refresh just blasts all at once every editor parameter out to Ming Micro. So if we press that, we get right back to where we were. I'm going to reset it one more time just so that we're from a blank slate. And what we're going to do now is make some modifications to the actual world pack. And we're going to do what we did before and just paint a tile back here. So we're going to go into Pixel, clear out the tile there, and we're going to get our cursor up. And I don't know, let's just do something really simple and sort of make just like a grid. And a dot right there. And okay, there's our new tile set. Now right now, if we were to reset Ming Micro, we would lose this. In order to store this new asset, we've got to make sure an SD card is inserted in Ming Micro, and then we just hit save. Now you guys won't be able to see this, but now that I've hit save, Ming Micro is just going through its little save animation on its LED display. Okay, that's done. Now I can reset the system, and you'll see that this time, now that I've got the SD card inserted, Ming Micro will go through its little loading sequence to clock in the graphics data off the card. Yeah, there we go. That pattern we stored is there. It's now stored in the 0 slot for object and the 0 slot for orient. Orient 1, 2, and 3 still has the default clouds in it. Incidentally, if I wanted to save a new preset, let's just make something really quick here. We'll use our new grid pattern maybe. Okay, so here's this random little silent patch that I made up real quick. So if I hold on Shift and click in a preset position, it'll actually store that in there. So now you can see I can hop back to an earlier preset and then hop back to that one. Now at this point, if I were to quit if I were to quit it, it would actually give me a prompt to save it. But I can also save this, this whole batch of presets manually back out to the JSON file by hitting save to HDD. I'm just going to use the same file here, which I've just called micro. We'll replace that. I'll just to prove that it works, we'll quit MicroEdit, relaunch MicroEdit, load our preset file, and finally load the preset, and we're right back where we were. Again, actually, I think all of the system stuff can also be accessed from the menu or controlled using the key bindings here. For instance, Control S will bring up the preset save dialog, etc. Okay, so I think that pretty much covers this little demo of the editor. We didn't touch on every single little feature, obviously, but that's a basic overview of what you can expect. I know a lot of you are planning on integrating Ming Micro into custom setups pretty much right away, which is awesome. But I think even for those of you who are planning to do that, my hope anyway is that the editor can still be useful just as like a asset creation tool, to actually build out the world packs, which are all the sprite and palette information and all that sort of stuff. And then, to be able to save those out to SD cards. That alone, I think, makes this something you'll probably want to check out at least for a little bit when you're first getting started. Thank you all so much again for your support and especially for your patience. I know it's taking a long time to get this stuff out there. And hopefully within the very, very near future, we're going to get these shipped out to you. And I just cannot wait to see what you guys do with it. All right. Thanks again. Bye.